My name is Stella. I'm 36 years old, and on an early summer Sunday evening in Santa Barbara, I realized I was no longer part of the Hayes family. I came to my brother Marcus's 45th birthday party with a carefully chosen gift. A Mont Blanc pen engraved with his name. I wasn't there to impress anyone. I just wanted to show up as a normal, respectful sister, and be treated as such. The party was held at my parents' new estate, a 2-story beachfront house that used to be our childhood weekend retreat. Now it had been repainted in stark white, strung with outdoor lights, and catered by a private chef. The event was orchestrated like a small wedding, complete with a coordinator in black holding the guest list. I parked, stepped out in a simple olive green fitted dress, hair pulled into a neat bun. I handed over my invitation, but the young man at the gate barely glanced at it before looking back at his list. "Sorry, your name?" he asked, voice polite to the point of robotic. "Stella Hayes, I'm Marcus's sister." "Stella Hayes," he repeated, finger sliding down the column. Then he stopped. "Ah. You're listed as A+1 under the family group." I frowned. "Listed as what?" He turned the sheet toward me. Under Hayes family, there were Marcus, my mom Judith, my dad Kenneth, our cousin Crystal and her husband. Even their Pomeranian had its own line. At the very bottom, in smaller font, +1, under family group. I let out a dry laugh. "So, I'm below the dog?" He said nothing. I pinned the guest badge to my chest and walked through the gate like a stranger. Classical music mingled with lavender-scented candles. The backyard was tented, carpeted with artificial grass, and the tables were arranged in a neat U-shape. I glanced around. A few people gave me brief looks, then quickly turned away. No one in the family came to greet me. I found my table, number 9, tucked against the fence near the portable kitchen. My chair was slightly crooked, the napkin hastily folded like someone had tossed it there. The water glass had lipstick on the rim. I stood still for a moment, something heavy settling in my chest. Marcus stood at the center, tall, polished in a sharp designer suit. His wife Bianca stood beside him, wrapped in a tight red dress tailored for the occasion. Judith clung to the arm of a man I didn't recognize, her face beaming like she was hosting a press conference. My father sipped his scotch, completely at ease. No one looked at me. No one said my name. When the event coordinator called the original members of the Hayes family for a group photo, I stayed seated, pretending to check my phone. But I watched them line up, posing carefully. No one asked where I was. Not one glance searched the room for me. I swallowed the rising sting in my throat. In that moment, it was painfully clear. I no longer belonged here. They hadn't thrown me out. They had erased me. No words, no argument, just a guest list and one quiet line of fine print had done the rest. I didn't leave the party. But from that moment on, I began to leave the family. From the inside out. The main event began at 6:30 p.m. Just as the sun slipped behind the western hills of Santa Barbara, leaving the sky a soft amber glow, like wine swirling in a glass. I was seated at table 9 when the stage lights dimmed, the jazz music faded, and the MC's voice rang through the microphone. "Please welcome to the stage, Stella Hayes." I looked up, startled. No one had told me anything, no heads up, no instructions. I hadn't prepared a word. All I felt were dozens of eyes turning toward me. A few scattered claps followed, the kind people give when they expect a performance. I stood, adjusted my dress, and made my way onto the small stage set up in the backyard. The spotlight swept across my face, hot and blinding, just like my mother Judith's gaze from the front row, seated beside Marcus and Bianca. I barely reached the mic before she jumped in, cutting me off with fake enthusiasm. "Before Stella shares a few words, I'd love to tell you all something special." She turned to the crowd, smiling like she was hosting a talk show. You know, the best gifts don't come in boxes, they come from the heart. Light laughter rippled through the guests. I held my breath. Judith continued, glancing quickly at me before settling her eyes on Bianca. Bianca and Marcus have only been married 2 months. They're starting their life together, and Stella, our dear Stella, owns the loveliest condo in Santa Monica. 2 bedrooms, ocean view balcony, beautifully furnished. Perfect for a young couple. My chest tightened. And Stella told me, she went on, that if Marcus and Bianca needed a place to begin, she'd gladly give them the condo. Isn't that right, sweetheart? A gasp moved through the crowd. Someone whistled. Another raised a glass. I froze. No, I never said that. I never offered to give away the home I'd bought after 10 years of saving and working 2 jobs. I turned to my mother. I never said that. She didn't blink. Come on, Stella, don't be shy, you've always been generous. I looked at Marcus. His head was down. Bianca squeezed his hand, lips tight, suppressing a smile. That condo is mine, I said calmly, no microphone needed. My voice carried anyway. No one discussed this with me. This is not a gift. Silence spread like a spilled drink. A few guests discreetly lifted their phones. Judith blinked slowly, her smile faltering into something rigid. You're making a scene, Stella. This was just a lovely gesture. Families support each other. I stepped back from the mic. Call it what it is, Mother. This is manipulation. It's public humiliation. No one came to my defense. No one stood up. Just silence. The suffocating kind, from people who came to watch a free tragedy. I left the stage. Not in a rush, not panicked. As I walked past the head table, Marcus pretended to focus on his embroidered napkin. Judith stood frozen, gripping her champagne flute so hard her knuckles went white. I moved quickly past the satin-covered tables, forcing my steps to stay steady. The scent of grilled meat and red wine mixed with lavender from the oil diffusers, but all I could sense was blood. Not yet visible. But my body already knew. I had just reached the dessert buffet when a low, sharp voice cut through the air behind me. You humiliated me in front of everyone. I turned. My father, Kenneth, stood 3 paces away. Eyes bloodshot, jaw twitching with rage, half-cell wineglass still in hand. He didn't yell. He didn't make a scene. His voice was low and cold, sharp enough to slice skin. I took half a step back. I didn't do anything wrong. They ambushed me, I just… Fret. It wasn't a slap. It was the sound of glass hitting bone. I didn't have time to react. The wineglass in his hand shattered against my temple. Half of it hit the grass. The other half left a gash above my cheekbone. Someone gasped. Silverware clattered to the ground. I staggered, clutching my head. My ears rang. Shapes moved around me, blurry, spinning. No one stepped forward, no one reached out. Only phones lifted. Pale camera flashes lit the darkness. Judith rushed in from across the yard, not to check on me, but to hiss at Kenneth. Are you crazy? People are filming. He stared me down, voice shaking with fury. You betrayed your blood. You're no longer part of this family. Warm blood dripped from my face, soaking into my dress. A man in a blue suit murmured. Someone should call 911. No one did. Marcus stood frozen, gripping his whiskey, eyes fixed on the ground. Bianca adjusted her dress strap and turned away. I exhaled, scanning faces both familiar and strange. And in one crushing moment, I knew. None of them would leave their seats for someone like me. I straightened up, head pounding, visions swimming. I looked my father in the eyes. Thank you for giving me your final answer. Then I turned and walked. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I just walked. Past the tables, through the trellis gate lined with bougainvillea, and out of the party where I once believed I'd always have a place. Outside, the sky had gone dark. A cold ocean breeze sliced through the cut on my head. I called an Uber with my free hand, blood still trailing down my face, like a punctuation mark on a sentence I never agreed to write. The driver hesitated when he saw me. I said only one sentence. I was assaulted, at a party, by my family. He didn't ask another question. At Cottage Hospital's ER, I filled out my own forms, pressing gauze to my wound as the nurse took my information. "Is anyone here with you?" she asked, her voice like silk thread. I looked her in the eye. No one. She didn't look surprised. Just nodded, like she'd seen it far too many times. I lay still under the fluorescent lights, pain pulsing with every heartbeat. And I realized, they didn't just want my condo. They wanted to steal my voice, my dignity, and my existence, right there, under the spotlight, in front of everyone. 3 days after the attack at the party, the wound on my head had taken 7 stitches. The skin still throbbed every time I tilted, but the silence from my family hurt more than anything. Not a single call. Not a text. It was as if I hadn't been there that night. Or ever, really. I was staying at my best friend Alina's apartment, crashing in her living room, which she quietly turned into a refuge for me. Every morning, she left a hot cup of coffee on the kitchen counter, along with a sticky note that simply read, "Don't let them teach you to be silent." On Wednesday morning, as I was repacking my bag to head back to my Santa Monica condo, my phone buzzed with a call from San Diego. "Hello, may I speak with Stella Hayes?" This is she. "Hi, I'm Kelly Lynn from Sapphire Realty. Just confirming the 2 p.m. showing today for your unit on Ocean Crest Drive. If you can't be there, we'll use the temporary access code for entry." I froze in the middle of the kitchen. Wait, which unit are you talking about? 3421 Ocean Crest Drive. Unit 406, is that correct? I forced my voice to stay calm. I never agreed to list the condo. I definitely didn't schedule any showings. There was a pause on the other end. Fine. I see. Well, according to the system, the listing was created 3 days ago, under co-ownership with a Kenneth Hayes. The uploaded documents include a digital signature that matches an ID on file. I felt like someone had poured a bucket of ice down my spine. They had accessed my information and were trying to legally steal my home. I hung up and immediately called my attorney, Brendan Miller, who had handled my condo purchase 2 years ago. "Stella, do you still have your original deed and transfer documents?" "Yes, hard copy and scanned." "But there's something serious, Brendan. They've listed my condo, and I never gave consent." He took a breath. "Do you suspect someone in your family took a spare key?" Then it clicked. A week before the party, during lunch at my parents' house in Newport Beach, my dad had carried my purse out to the car by mistake. When I asked, he shrugged it off. "Thought it was your mom's. They looked the same." I had laughed. Never thought twice. But now, every piece fit together. "I think he took my spare key then." Brandon was quiet for a beat. Then, "Meet me at your condo in an hour. Bring everything." I got there first. There were fresh scratches around the lock. Small, but new. As if someone unfamiliar had tried using a key. Brandon called a locksmith on the spot. As the man dismantled the lock, I stood beside the door, gripping my documents, lips trembling with fury. "I can't believe they went this far," I whispered. "They hit me, erased me from every photo, and now they're trying to sell my home?" Brandon didn't look at me, but his voice was steady. "They're not the first to try something like this. But they'll be the last to do it to you." Once the locks were changed and a deadbolt added, I sat down on the hardwood floor, staring at the walls. The picture frame still hung. The scent of cedarwood candles still lingered. But it didn't feel like mine anymore. This wasn't just my safe space now. It was the battlefield. I looked at the front door, square and silent. If they wanted a war for what didn't belong to them, I wouldn't retreat. Not this time. On Monday morning, just as I was about to leave my apartment for a meeting with Brandon at his law office, my phone buzzed with a message from my mother. It wasn't cold or passive-aggressive like usual. "Stella, I want to see you. No Marcus, no one else, just me and your father. We need to talk. Please. Don't bring your lawyer." Below was a heart emoji. The first one she'd sent in years. I read it over and over. Cautious to the point of absurdity. But I kept reading it anyway. Brandon looked at me as I explained. "They're playing the emotional card," he said. "Want to guess what's waiting for you? A cup of tea, some almond cookies, and a printed agreement on the coffee table." I nodded. "I know. But if I don't go, they'll twist the narrative. Say I shut them out. Say I refuse to hear them out. They're good at playing the victim." Brandon thought for a second, then placed his hand on the table. "Wear a recorder, I've got a mini one, just listen. But whatever they hand you, don't sign. Not under any circumstances." I arrived at my parents' house at 4 p.m. The new Port Beach home looked exactly as it did the last time I walked out of it. White painted door, brown tiled roof, garden trimmed to perfection, almost unnaturally so. But this time, the front door was already open, like they knew I'd come. My mother, Haitiayane, stood at the steps in a beige sweater and silk skirt, holding a cup of hot tea. No cameras, no visible tension. Everything arranged so neatly it made me want to scream. "Thank you for coming, sweetheart," she said in a soft, measured voice. I nodded. No hug. I didn't step in right away, just stood and observed. Inside, the place was spotless. The coffee table held a plate of almond cookies I used to like. On the couch lay the old family photo album, the same one that had been mysteriously missing a few pages. Now restored, like nothing had ever been tampered with. My father, Kenneth, sat in an armchair by the fireplace, holding a brandy glass, no longer furious like at the party. He now played the role of the calm, contemplative father, just slightly regretful. Just smug enough. "Sweetheart," he started. "We shouldn't have let things get this far. Everyone's been hurt. Everyone's lost something. But family is still family." I sat down. Didn't touch the cookies. Didn't take the tea. "Lost something?" I said quietly. "I lost blood." "And you were trying to sell my condo." My mother cut in with a flat smile. "That was a misunderstanding, Stella. The realtor probably made a mistake. We never meant for that. But to avoid unnecessary legal drama, your father and I prepared a settlement document." She pulled a manila envelope from the coffee table drawer and placed it gently in front of me like it was a birthday invitation. "This is a mutual agreement. You'll keep your name on the deed, but Marcus and Bianca will have exclusive usage for 10 years. The property is still yours. But you won't sell it, and you won't cause trouble." I flipped it open slightly. Legal jargon everywhere. But the last line said it all. Party A agrees to grant Party B exclusive usage rights of Unit 46 Ocean Crest Drive, including rental and full management control, for a period of 10 years. I looked at my mother, then my father, both silent. Wait. No threats, no begging, just pressure, disguised as reconciliation. I folded the document and placed it back on the tray. This isn't peace, it's a calculated land grab. My father leaned forward, voice darker. "You think dragging this into court will get you anywhere? Your reputation, your job, your relationships. How far do you want this to go?" I stood up and reached into my bag for the tiny recorder I'd switched on before stepping inside. I placed it right in the center of the table. "I don't want anything to go anywhere," I said. "I just want to leave here with evidence." My mother's face turned pale. Kenneth's grip tightened on his glass, and the faint clink of crystal echoed like a gunshot in the stiff room. I didn't need to say another word. I walked out of their house without a goodbye. Peace wasn't in that living room. It was waiting for me. Behind the court documents I was ready to file. 4 days after the reconciliation trap, I sat in Brandon Miller's law office in the Santa Monica Financial District, flipping through documents, my head tight with a rage I'd kept buried too long. Brandon had just uploaded the audio recording from that meeting to secure storage when he slid a fresh file across the desk. "Do you remember the house on Pinewood?" he asked. "The one your parents have lived in since 2012? I frowned. Of course. Back then, they were in financial crisis. Marcus had just lost his job. They defaulted on the mortgage. I helped them save it. Brandon nodded. Right. And I just rechecked the deed. Stella, that house is still in your name. I froze. What did you say? He turned his laptop to face me. On the screen was a scanned copy of the 2013 property transfer. The registered owner, Stella Hayes. They never requested a title transfer. No quitclaim deed, no written agreement, nothing. Legally, you're still the sole owner. I leaned back, as if someone had hit me. They'd lived there over a decade. Decorating, hosting parties, taking photos and calling it home. But the house was mine. "Do you want to move forward?" Brandon asked, his tone as casual as if offering coffee. I didn't answer right away. I stared out the window, where sunlight bounced sharply off the glass towers. I thought about the glass to my face, the condo nearly stolen, the agreement, wrapped in almond cookies and fake smiles. "File it, as fast as you can." Brandon nodded. "I'll file for unlawful occupancy within 48 hours, no notice needed." That Saturday morning, I received a text from his office. "The court approved. Eviction is effective 72 hours after posting." 3 days later, as I was making coffee in my quiet condo, my phone rang. It was Brandon. They got the notice, local sheriff delivered it in person at 8 a.m. I thought I'd feel triumphant. But what I felt was silence. Cold and thick. No kind of justice feels whole when the people losing are the same ones who once held you during a fever, or strung Christmas lights with you as a kid. That night, I got an anonymous text. A short video clip. It showed Kenneth, my father, opening the front door to see the sheriff holding paperwork. His face froze like he didn't understand what was happening. Judith, behind him, yelled something unintelligible, her hand trembling as she saw the sealed yellow envelope stuck to the door. I didn't rewind, I didn't save it. I watched it once, just enough to know justice had arrived, without slamming fists or shouting voices. The next morning, Brandon sent a photo. The Hayes nameplate had been removed from the gate. No protests, no appeals, no apology. They'd grown comfortable with the idea that I'd always forgive, that I was the good daughter, the one who never pushed things too far. What they didn't realize was that line had been shattered the moment they dared to call theft a gesture of love. I stood up, poured another cup of coffee and placed my hand on the wooden kitchen counter, where morning light poured in, soft and golden. No one could force me out of this space again. And I didn't need anyone else to tell me I belonged here. I no longer needed anyone at all. 1 week after the eviction order was enforced, I had barely stepped outside. Not out of fear, but because, for the first time in years of playing the resilient daughter, I was finally allowed to exist in a silence no one could breach. On Saturday evening, as I reorganized my bookshelf, my phone buzzed with a message from someone I never expected. Bianca Hayes, Marcus's wife. We were never close. Since the day Bianca entered our family, she'd played the role of the perfect background actress. Smiled just enough, spoke sweetly enough to earn Judith's approval. But that night, she sent a blunt text. "I think you need to see this." Attached was a photo of a dark brown leather album placed on the edge of a dining table. I recognized it immediately. The family legacy album. The one my mother guarded like a relic, brought out only for Thanksgiving or Christmas. I replied, "Which album? Why should I see it?" Bianca didn't answer. She simply sent a series of photos. Page 2. Raucous, age 2 on a rocking horse. Page 2. Marcus and Judith in the garden, 1992. Page 3. Kenneth holding Marcus during a trip to Colorado. And so on. Dozens of photos. Each family moment revolved entirely around Marcus. There was no sign of me. Not even a sliver of a sleeve, a corner of my dress, or the back of my head passing through the frame. I clenched my phone, my chest went cold. I wasn't someone who needed to be the center of attention. But I had been there. I remembered. I was the girl with glasses, always standing beside Marcus at Christmas parties. The one who baked cookies with Mom during Lunar New Year. Her so-called stress relief days. The one who cradled our new puppy Dobby the day he came home. My type. When did my mother erase me? Bianca replied after a few minutes. Yes. I'm not sure. But there are signs. She sent another image. A close-up of a page. A subtle distortion in the background, like something had once been pasted and then peeled off. A corner still had dried adhesive. I couldn't count how many times I'd cried over their cruelty. But this time, I didn't cry. I sat still for a long while. Then a memory hit me like a rewound tape. My 11th birthday. I was in a yellow floral dress, sitting between Marcus and Grandma. That photo had hung in our living room for 2 years. But after I left for college, it disappeared. Mom once said, the frame broke. It wasn't the frame. I stood, pulled out the storage bin from under my bed, the one where I kept old photos. Nestled between old birthday cards and my high school yearbook, I found a copy of the album my mom had given me when I turned 18. I flipped to page 5. The same photo Bianca had sent. And there I was, in the far left corner, reaching for a plate of cookies. They hadn't just erased me from the present. They had tried to erase me from the past. I sat there. Something heavy crushing my chest. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was a decision. I messaged Bianca again. Why are you showing me this? She responded with one sentence. Because I think you should know they're rewriting history. I set my phone down, opened my laptop. I created a new folder, The Truth. I scanned every photo I had, every original deed, every audio recording from the reconciliation excerpts from the eviction order, and every image Bianca sent me. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. But I knew one thing. If they were set on erasing me from memory, I'd leave the truth somewhere they could never delete it. I woke up on a quiet Sunday morning, just as sunlight began peeking over the rooftops. The soft gold filtered through the curtains and spilled across the hardwood floor. In my hands was a steaming mug of peppermint tea. On the table, my laptop, left open from the night before. The screen blinked with one question. Are you sure you want to share this folder? I didn't hesitate anymore. I clicked, yes. In that moment, every file in the folder labeled, The Truth, went live on a public archive. Permanent link, verified ID, locked against edits. There it was. Every bank transfer I'd made to Marcus when his company was drowning. The text from Judith that read, Stella, can you cover Ivy's tuition? I'll pay you back in 2 weeks. A promise that never saw daylight. Legal documents listing my condo for sale under a forged signature. The living room audio recording of them handing me that benevolent transfer contract. And the doctored family album, alongside the originals I still owned. No outrage, no captions, no names called. Just the truth. Raw, undeniable. I didn't title the folder with Marcus or Judith's name. I didn't call them Mom or Dad. I didn't craft a viral post. I left one line. For anyone whose voice was smothered by family, this is how I got mine back. Notifications came fast. Messages. Emails. invitations from small podcasts that shared real stories. I declined them all. I didn't do this to become a symbol. I did it to end the story myself. Marcus messaged me twice. First, Stella, this is damaging my company. Are you trying to destroy me? Then colder. Congrats, you tore down your whole family just to play the victim. I didn't reply. 3 days later, Judith left a nearly 2-minute voicemail. She opened with a trembling apology, slipped into accusations, then circled back to how she sacrificed so much for me as a child. Her voice was hoarse. But the only part that lingered was the ending. And if you still have any heart left, take it down, enough already. I closed my eyes, took a long, slow breath. Then I deleted the message. No save, no reply. I didn't need their acknowledgement. I didn't need anyone's forgiveness. That afternoon I stopped by the local nursery. Ty bought a small lavender pot and a fig tree in a soft glazed ceramic planter. I placed the fig by my window, where the light could drench it daily. Not for feng shui. I just liked how it grew. Upright, steady, needing no one's support. That evening I made dinner with Alina. Lemon garlic linguine with freshly shaved parmesan, fine as snow. We played soft jazz, talked about books, a new documentary, whether to grow thyme or basil on the balcony. I had never felt so allowed to exist. After dinner, I sat alone under the kitchen's amber light. I glanced at the dining table. The one where I used to fold napkins into perfect triangles during holidays, hoping for my mother's approval. An approval that never came, but now, no one got to define me through silence. I didn't forgive. But I didn't hate. I just no longer let them reach me. Not with words, not with tears, not with empty promises. My name is Stella Hayes, and I have returned, not as the obedient daughter, not as the quiet burden bearer. I returned, with the full truth, and no one will ever take it from me again. Stella's story is a powerful reminder that sometimes family is the first place where our voice and worth are stripped away. But she chose to rise, using truth and the law to take back control of her life. In the real world, no one is obligated to endure forever. Silence is not a duty, and blind loyalty should never come at the cost of dignity. You have the right to choose peace, even if it means walking alone. What do you think about Stella's decision and how she reclaimed her life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family, self-worth, and the journey to finding your true self.